Good morning, guys. I am back in London with my family, and so far it's been great. We've been having a lot of fun, lots of adventures, but I'm not sitting down to talk about that. I'm here to talk about this cup. You might have noticed already that it's got some metal coils on the bottom. This is the Ember cup. Battery on the bottom, you charge it with the coils on the bottom here, and it keeps your drink warm. It is a very expensive cup, and throughout the video I'm going to explain why. And at the end of the video I will tell you exactly who this cup is for, because it's definitely not for everyone. It might not seem that special on the surface, but let me tell you a little story. When I was about 12 years old, I bought one of those thermoses that you can plug into a cigarette lighter. It was supposed to heat up your water. It boils in 20 minutes. This is like 12 years old me. I was so excited. I filled it up, I took it up. My dad and I we used to ski like 3 times a week. We drove up to the mountain. I had my cup and my tea ready for when we came back down the mountain, and we started heading back. I plugged it in, I kept checking it, and by the time I got home, the water was like lukewarm. It never got hot. And I still kind of wonder what happened to that thing, because I don't remember returning it. Total hunk of junk. Anyway, a total gimmick, and ever since then, I think about that time and how nice it would be to have sort of a portable water heater or something that I could drink tea out of. And I've experimented with a few different things. Most recently, I did try to get a water heater cigarette lighter, similar thing, with a USB-C adapter for the cigarette lighter. It just tries it and then it poops out. And I know that this adapter works because I tried it in my car and it works just fine. Or maybe it doesn't know how much electricity it needs, really don't know. And that totally failed. Enter in this cup. And it might seem a little bit gimmicky, and to an extent it is, but to be honest, it's something that I've wanted for a long time. All that to say that the science behind this and the difficulty of getting this cup right, it's not easy. It's definitely a very difficult thing. And I still think this cup has a long way to go. So here I'm gonna list my pros and my cons here. It's not really pros and cons. I have a pros, a gripes, and a weird cons list. First really obvious pro is that it heats itself up. I certainly hope that it does that, because that is the entire purpose of the cup. And so, as explained before, this is not an easy feat, and there aren't a lot of cups on the market that can do that disconnected from a power source. Which leads me into my second pro, is that it's portable. It's completely battery powered. The battery in the bottom of this thing powers it for up to 80 minutes. I haven't actually tested the time, so...
I'm editing now, and I have actually tested it now, and I'm disappointed to say that the 145 degrees, it actually only lasted about 49 minutes. I'm not quite sure where that 80 minutes comes from. Rarely at 100% when it's finished charging, and it doesn't go below like 5%, so I do kind of wonder if it's like 100 to 0 at the lowest temperature, it's 80 minutes, but in real life I don't get anywhere close to that.
It might be less than that. I think it is less than that. But they say 80 minutes. And so the fact that I can that it will continue heating my drink while I'm at the table, and not just while I have it plugged into the wall or the cigarette lighter, is massively beneficial. And that's really the unique thing about this cup, is that it's completely self-contained. Those other things that I've tried in the past either have no power source and just try to keep it hot for long periods of time, or are required to be plugged in, which can be a pain in the butt, obviously, if you're trying to move about the house. Like right now, I'm nowhere near a power source. This wouldn't be able to be plugged in. My next pro is that it's easily chargeable on the go, and that comes with a caveat. See, when I was looking for something, I was really looking for something that I could charge from my portable power bank, and to that effect, I succeeded. But I had to get creative. So this is the charger. It has like regular DC out. It plugs into this little platform. Okay. Now I do happen to have a battery pack with AC out. And the lucky thing is that a lot of these other chargers, they have chargers that are like 80 watts or higher, and this thing only goes up to 85. I tried out like a 100 watt, and first of all, it took forever, and secondly, it didn't work when plugged into this thing. The portability, the fact that I can charge it on the go like this is definitely a game changer, because if I'm out, if I'm camping or traveling or whatever I'm doing, I mean, even when I'm just out in my car, I want to be able to charge my cup. I want to be able to heat water. I want to be able to heat water with an entirely portable power source for one reason or another. And so for me, this was really important. Um, there's one gripe about this whole setup that I have, though. Sorry, I will get into that in just a minute when I get into my gripes list. The last thing is that it looks and feels nice. There are different colors. It comes in black, white, gold, and maybe something else. I'm not sure. I really like the black one. It looks just like, I mean, it looks very similar to other kind of higher end cups in my cupboard. But I do have to say, I'm going to use this to lead into my first gripe, and that is that those higher end cups in my cupboard cost like $15, $20. This is $100, and I think it's 100 pounds in the UK, which is like $135. It's a super expensive cup. I recognize that it fills a unique niche, and that you know commands a certain price. However, $100 is a lot. It's a lot. You know, I mean, these other water heaters that I was doing, the ones that you have to plug into the wall, were going for like $30, $35. I mean, even if it was like $70, I feel like that would make more sense. I don't know what their unit cost is, what they have to make, what they have to sell it for to make money. But then when you jump into the pounds and you're charging 100 pounds for it, I recognize that you have to pay, you know, VAT and maybe increase shipping costs. But that seems excessive. 135. It ends up being $135. So that's my first gripe about it. I think that I mean, I obviously paid for it, but I think that the price is off base. I think that they'd probably get a wider audience if they were to bring it down to like 50, maybe 70, even $80. I think would make me feel better about the purchase. It just feels like 100 is very premium for a cup. And if you jump into so they do have like closed off ones that are more like thermos mugs that keep your drink the same temperature for 3 hours instead of 1.5 hours, and they go for like $180. And I'm like, that's the one that should be like, it should go like 70, 120. That's just how I feel about it. My next gripe is that I really wish the battery lasted longer. Now it says 80 minutes. I haven't tested, but I think for me it's typically less than that. It stays hot when it's on the charger, and it will continue charging the battery. So if you're at your desk most of the time and you just get up and move every once in a while, it's probably not the end of the world. But for me, in the fact that I'm on the move all the time, or sometimes in my car, and it dies before I've even finished half my cup of coffee, the reason that I put this as a gripe and not a con is because I recognize that that heating elements take a lot of electricity, and the bottom of this cup is quite small. So in order to fit it into a cup, I'm sure that they had to make compromises, and they would probably love to make the battery last longer, but the physics just aren't there. If I had to guess, I don't know. I can hardly blame them for the battery time when it's probably a limitation of, you know, the type of device itself. I mean, it's the only fully enclosed battery-powered water heater that I've ever owned. The other ones all plug into the wall or cigarette lighters. So the fact that it can get there at all is quite impressive. I just wish that the battery lasted longer. And the second thing is right along the same lines. It only goes up to 145 degrees. Now, I think that tea is probably great at 145, but I prefer drinking coffee at about 155. Again, we're probably dealing with constraints, physics constraints, with the battery and the heating element and all of that sort of thing. But I do wish that it could go up to 155 degrees instead of 145. And my last gripe, the one that I'm probably the most disappointed in, is just the entire charging setup. Now, this might not make a lot of sense to a lot of people. However, this plate charges the cup. It sits on top like this. Oops. And it charges the cup. Yep. Pretty simple. This plugs into the wall. This plugs into the cup. This is a 40-watt charger together. As far as I know, that's all this does. This is just for power delivery. And this is supposed to look like a little saucer, like as if you were having your afternoon tea. There's no reason that you can't deliver 40 watts with USB-C. It goes up to 100 watts. So I don't understand why I need this thing at all. I don't want it. If I don't have to have it, I don't want it. even if you were to make the base just a little bit bigger and you put like a water sealed port right here, plug that into USB-C, that would make this so like 10 times better. I'll take back what I said about the price earlier. If I can just plug it into USB-C. Ember, if you're watching this, if you can do that. I guess that last one wasn't my last gripe. I've got one more. This again is kind of just the nature of the device itself, as opposed to it being a problem with this one in particular. And that is that when you heat coffee up in a coffee machine, like a drip coffee machine, and it's been sitting there for a while, the hot plate on the bottom keeps it warm, just pretty much works exactly the same as this one. But if you notice that if it's been going for a while, you can taste the coffee. It tastes a bit stale and burnt. It tastes that way because it is stale and burnt. And this coffee after a while kind of is the same. I do wish, and I know that this is a far-fetched wish and probably not a big deal to a lot of people, there was some sort of movement, even if it was just like a little tiny turbine, to keep the coffee moving while it's being heated. Because that way, that would probably prevent that flavor from kind of accumulating, because it would prevent the coffee from burning itself. Maybe it wouldn't, but that's my guess. So that's my last little gripe. I do have a few weird cons. Hi, Maba. Good morning. So my first weird little con, that is the problem with this device in particular, and not just devices of its type. It's supposed to be able to tell when it's empty and shut itself off, but it doesn't always. The consequences of this are that it keeps heating even while it's charging. The first night that I had it, I didn't realize that I had to shut the temperature down to 0. While the heating element is on, it doesn't charge the battery nearly as fast. And so like maybe 3% per hour. And so in the morning, I set it on, I was drinking my tea in the evening, I set it down on the charger. In the morning, it was like 50%. And so I was like, I felt like I was losing my little bits, my little 80 minutes. I was like, man, I've only got 80 minutes. I can't be, I feel like I'm being robbed here of my little bit. So that's my first thing. You need to set the temperature to 0 whenever you're finished using it and you want to charge it, because it might not detect whether or not when it's empty, and might continue the heating element. The second thing is that it loses battery when like I'll put it on the charger at night, and it would basically, what it does is it charges up to 100% and then it just turns itself off. But it loses battery so fast that it'll be down to 83, 85% by morning AM, and by 7 AM it's down to 85%. Some batteries lose electricity like that. Quality ones don't though. Your brand new iPhone probably doesn't. So I don't know what kind of battery they're using in the cup, but I can tell that it's almost definitely a lower quality one. Where's Mommy? Mommy, you sound so British. Why? So who's this cup for? That's what we're getting down to. It's a little bit gimmicky, and it does solve a need for me. However, for somebody like me, I could never justify the price. It's too expensive. For what it definitely has a benefit. Its benefit probably isn't as much as you think. Where are you going? Do you want to stay with me? No? Okay, bye then. With all that said, I didn't buy this cup. My wife bought it for me, and for that I'm very grateful. I think that it's the perfect gift, honestly, for the person who doesn't think they need it and wouldn't justify the price, because I can kind of relieve myself of that. I can kind of relieve myself of that and just like experience the benefits and not think that much about the money, because my wife said, nope, I'm getting it for you, that's it. It's basically the perfect gift for somebody who drinks a lot of hot drinks but would never justify the price on themselves, at least.